Hello and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast.
Yes.
Kevin's pointing his finger in the air going, we're number one.
Yes.
We're number one. We're not. We're about 25th.
I don't know where you get your numbers from, but I'm
Harper's Bazaar.
Podcasts weekly. It's a fine read.
That is a thing I saw the
Oh,
other
definitely.
week.
It's a thing, yeah.
Usually they're negative reviews though, because most podcasts, much like ours, people don't put a lot of work into them.
Well, we put a lot of work into them, but luckily the work is over now because it's the end of the season.
It is the end. I don't put that much work. Like if I don't, this isn't my story, so I didn't have to research it. We have to do about half as much work as successful people because
but most people just show up and they're like, "What's in the news this week?" and then they talk about that, and then the footy, and then about what their favorite type of crisp is.
Oh my god, why can't I have one of those podcasts?
I don't know.
I don't know how I've fallen into this trap of having like a
The fucking read.
having to read. It's you. I blame you.
It is my fault. Yeah, but here we can talk about what's happening in the world this week.
The two Johnnies got cancelled.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
You were thinking Ukraine.
No, I was thinking of the two Johnnies. But they're not cancelled. I'd say they'll be back now.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'd say they probably got on the phone and were like, "Vlad, we're in a bit of trouble here. If you wouldn't mind."
Yeah.
I'm calling in that favor.
Well,
it
was the best time for them. Obviously, it's a very tough time for a lot of people in the world. But in terms of like letting the news cycle pass over your controversy, you couldn't ask for a better week.
Exactly. They'll be back. So they got cancelled because they were reading out window stickers that were on young lads'
bumper
vehicles.
stickers.
Bumper stickers, but they don't appear in bumpers anymore. They're decals is what the word is, which I know from Need for Speed Underground 2.
Decal, I think. But
maybe. I couldn't read that well when I was a kid. But so they were reading these out.
Today.
People were sending them into them, and they were reading them out. And then because they didn't follow every laugh with, and of course, this is despicable, and we don't condone this sort of behavior, the people give out to them, and they got kicked off their RTE show.
Yeah, which is why we haven't even applied to be on RTE yet, because
we're gonna from now on we're gonna finish everything. And listen, I don't like the two Johnnies, but I don't really have any feelings about them. They're grand, whatever. But I mean, it is crazy.
I don't like them. They're grand, whatever. They should die.
It's because I don't like them, but I have no real good reason for it. Yeah. I've seen some of their stuff. It's it's whatever.
Yeah, I don't like care for it too much, but I don't like the idea that everyone was like, we talked about this the other day, like everyone and their mas on Reddit going, I'm not a big fan of cancel culture.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't like them, so it's good that it's
fine.
Happened.
Yeah.
That's
not how it works.
Yeah, soon someone you really like is going to be quote unquote cancelled.
Yeah. But 3 months ago I was driving into Cork with my two sisters. We drove through Cashel. We saw a car that had writing on the back window saying, "Bros before hoes, unless there was hoes ain't got clothes." And Jason, I tell you now, we laughed. Well, I drove around following that car because I wanted to get a picture of the guy in it. I wanted to see who was driving that car, and we fucking laughed about it the whole way down to Cork, and we still laugh about it now. But apparently, because I didn't follow up every one of those laughs with, and of course, this is a stupid thing to do, and the reason I'm laughing is because I can't imagine what sort of idiot would drive around with this on their car. I mean, if they have to drive to their job or pick up their kids from school or whatever with this.
Yeah, now when you said, but of course, I thought you were going to say Celtic.
But the other thing that's happened in the news this week is Ukraine and Russia are fighting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I looked at the numbers there today. We have 53 listeners in Russia.
Okay.
And 9 in Ukraine.
Ooh, this is
so let that before you pick a side, let that factor in.
Look, I've said a long time. I've been saying it now for a couple of years. We've got some wonderful, great overlords on the way. I'm willing to bow down.
To the 53 Russian lads,
and ladies.
What are you at? Settle down.
Yeah,
go on home. Come on now.
Yeah, down with this sort of thing.
To the 9 Ukrainians, fair play to you.
Fair play to you. Keep it up. Now, also, you don't know whether or not those listeners are Russians who are in Ukraine.
That's true. Yeah, they could be listening on their way over with the tanks.
Yeah. What episodes would they be listening to?
The one about the Russian crown jewels. Be like, we're coming for you, Dublin.
Mm-hmm.
You're next.
Ireland invading Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
A bit of groundwork.
what not to do.
I haven't listened to the end of this episode yet, but I think this is a good starting point. But I had some. This is just start off the episode. I had some facts about Russian leaders in Ireland. Do you remember the time Igor Gadeir was here in 2006?
I know it well.
You know it well?
Mm-hmm.
He went down to Maynooth. He was in Ireland talking about his new book, Death of the Empire, Lessons for Modern Russia. He was the former and acting Prime Minister of Russia, Igor Gadeir, and he's over in Ireland promoting his new book, The Death of the Empire, Lessons for Modern Russia. Now, who do you think mightn't like a title like that? The book is generally about like how the USSR were bad and how Russia should get more in touch with the West.
I would say his name would rhyme with Vladimir Vlutin.
Yeah. Oh, Vladimir Vlutin. Now, this is pure conjecture, but while Igor was in Maynooth, anyway, yeah, he hit all the big spots, Trinity, anyway, Maynooth.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Pity he wasn't around in 2023. He could have went to the newly created Carlow University.
Oh, yeah, that would have been next on his trip. If he hadn't have fallen ill and collapsed on his way while he was waiting for the Maynooth speech.
Was he poisoned?
That's what he thinks.
He was. Yeah, someone walked by and okay.
What
was the name of the guy in London? The scientist.
It was that exact same week as the former KGB spy Alexander Litvinenko was poisoned that same week.
Ah.
Yeah. So people came across Igor, and I think he was like, puking blood coming out his nose, the whole 9 yards. But they got him to hospital and he survived. But he said he reckoned it was poisoning. So it was the other guy was killed by radiation poison. Gadar in hospital, he said, most likely that means that some obvious or hidden adversaries of the Russian authorities stand between the scenes of this event, those who are interested in further radical deterioration of relations between Russia and the West. I don't know who we could be talking about there, but luckily he died a few years later. So,
how many listeners do we have in China?
Not enough.
Okay, it was China then.
Well, so maybe someone had him silenced. Another theory is it could have been the Irish as revenge for the time in 1994 when Boris Yeltsin snubbed Taoiseach Albert Reynolds by failing to... Do you remember this?
No.
So Yeltsin...
What, we're going to dose someone.
We don't forget, okay? We do not forget and we do not forgive.
No, but we also don't have it in us to do... we're not clever enough to do that. To just
we couldn't poison the man.
To blow poison into someone's face. We'll bomb him.
Yeah, that's true. We're more... Oh, yeah. Well, it could have been radiation poisoning. Also, another theory...
Blame in Selfield.
He could have been like many lads. You go out the night before, you're in Ireland, you have one too many. Then you have 6 too many on top of that. The next morning you wake up, you're not feeling too well, but it couldn't be your fault. You were poisoned.
You think this is like the geopolitical version of like bad fish on the way home?
Yeah. It was the peanuts. It wasn't the 17 pints. It was bad. It was the peanuts at the bar, and I think it was a dodgy chip.
Yeah, it was the fresh air. It just when it hit me.
It hit me. That was it. Yeah. So maybe he's pulling that old. He's supposed to be going down and giving this big speech. Instead, he's thrown up in the bathroom. He's like, fuck it. It was dodgy points. That first Guinness was awful dusty. Never drink Guinness from an upstairs tap. My mother always told me.
They'd been washing those Guinness glasses with the regular cutlery from the restaurant. You could almost see the grease, the stains on it.
It's shocking. But now, so that's one theory. I'll put that one. That's solid.
I'm going to put that
one.
Low down. I'm going to go the opposite and say it's not that.
That's my leading theory. Number 2, Putin. That's, I don't know, an outsider chance. Number 3, actually, I'm going to move this one up to number 2 now. It was revenge for the time Boris Yeltsin was due to have a layover in Shannon while on the way back to Moscow from the US. So Albert Reynolds and all the boys are there ready to meet him, talk about diplomacy. It's 1994. They want to talk about the Troubles because that's all anyone wanted to talk about then. And they're waiting to meet him. They're waiting there for an hour. The plane's just circling around Shannon Airport, not landing. Eventually it lands. Another 15, 20 minutes before anyone comes out. And eventually the equivalent of the vice president came out and said, Yeltsin, he's sick and or asleep. He's not going to be able to meet you, but I'll talk to you. And Reynolds apparently took it in his stride, told media after, and the whole news crew is there. Reynolds looks a right mug. He's waiting out in the cold Shannon Airport to meet Boris Yeltsin.
Whereas he could have went in and he warmed himself up with the world's first
Yeah, Irish coffee. Yeah. That he probably had one in his hand. He was going to give it to Yeltsin over at Foynes Airport, but instead,
That's probably why he was okay with it.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm just gonna sit around here. It's quite cold. No, bring another. Bring another.
Well, apparently that's the rumors to what happened to Yeltsin. Apparently he got bollock drunk on the plane back and was too drunk to go out and meet him. So later on, he has a press conference when he gets back to Moscow, and he's like, yeah, I was asleep. I'll tell you this now. I was asleep, and then boys were supposed to come in and wake me, and they didn't. But they'll be dealt with severely.
Yeah, do you see, this is the difference between Russian politics and Irish politics, because he was clever enough to know he was, not in a great way.
Yeah.
Probably a couple of too many pints the night before. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to make a show of myself and my role in the Parliament in front of because you're just going to hound me for it.
A good call.
Whereas Brian Cowan,
Yeah.
water, more water. the country's fine.
You're right. I mean, he probably did weigh up his options. He was like, I am lit.
Mm.
If I don't go out there, people will assume the worst, and I'll never hear the end of it. But if I do go out there, they'll see the worst, and I'll definitely never hear the end of it. So yeah, it's probably the best of the bad lot.
Yeah. What would you do?
I've been in that situation before. What would happen was...
Well, I saw you after the live Kilkenny gig.
Oh, yeah. I'd go at it again. Well, no, what would happen is that I'd go off the plane and then in Russian ask for a coffee, and then that would get mistranslated, and I'd be handed an Irish coffee from Foynes.
Yeah.
And I'd be more fucked than I'd started, and I'd start a diplomatic incident.
But with the warm coat of your Irish coffee.
Of course, and Albert Reynolds would be on about the troubles, and I'd be like, fuck, I have trouble fucking getting my fly up. If I'm honest with you.
Okay, give me the next Ukrainian fact. And just to clarify that myself and Kev find the Ukrainian-Russian conflict not funny in any way.
Not in any way. And this is in case in a year's time when we're famous in RT and someone's listening back to this clip, I was laughing at the idea of Boris Yeltsin being too drunk to talk to Albert Reynolds in 1994.
I was laughing at the bros before hoes, unless those hoes ain't wearing clothes.
I mean, that's just funny. But, again, those 53 Russian listeners, tip on home. On Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, you're right. That's the end of that. I don't have any more Ukrainian facts. That's the end. But this episode, the season finale, is going to be about a man from Cork, because it's Cork week.
It is Cork week.
We're going to be in Cork this Friday doing a live show. Do you want to tell them what it's about, or do you want to save it as a secret?
The history of the thing you stop wine bottles with.
It's going to be big. And then that's on Friday, and then on Saturday we'll be doing stand-up comedy.
Yes,
in the Roundy,
Roundy,
the Coco.
Yeah, with the wonderful Cornelius is on that, right?
Yeah, Cornelius and Tom O'Mahony is headlining.
Bear.
Yes, but again, to go back and plug our own show, we'll be in Collins in Cork.
Which I confirmed this with a man from Cork down in Carlow this week, and he was like, he said that he knew a lad called Coughlin. So he's always actually called it that.
Okay.
Yeah. But he said, no, in Cork it is Collins.
Yeah. But that's where we'll be on Friday with Roger O'Sullivan.
The wonderful Roger O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
And then he'll also be coming on to the film club on our Patreon, which is where you can go and find all of those. Any of the live gigs we've done so far, any of the upcoming ones, they're all going to go up in there. You can support us, $5 a month, get some extra podcasts. If you like the free one, I was going to say you love the other one. It's very, very much similar.
It's the exact same.
Yeah, it's just that you could have more of it.
If you like this one, you'll like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to watch The Knights of Tiernan Oak.
Yes, we're going to watch that. As soon as we stop this recording, we're going into your sitting room to go watch what looks like the worst film ever made.
We should really watch a good film someday. But
yeah, like Fatal Deviation.
Exactly. And there'll be a link to that show. I'll put a link to all of the upcoming live ones in this description, so you can click on that and you can buy whatever you want. And if you go to all the shows, we'll give you a sticker
or a t-shirt.
Yeah, we'll give you a t-shirt. We have those.
And for any of the Patreon subscribers, if you're thinking about coming down to see us doing one of the live gigs, we actually have a promo code for any of the tickets we have on Eventbrite.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, this week's episode is going to be about a Cork man called William Horace de Vercoel, the merry prankster of Cork.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall. Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlisle and Gavin the Dawn guide you through the ways of Shine's.
William Horace de Vere Cole was born in Ballincollig, County Cork, on the 5th of May, 1881, although he later claimed to have been born in Blarney.
In Blarney. Oh, okay.
Not much of a difference.
His first prank.
So this is the master pranker of Cork.
Another veer.
Yeah, I was thinking of that
the
as well.
season started and ended on a veer.
Yes. Maybe it is a common name, because he was from where? Waterford? Wexford?
Waterford, I believe.
Yeah. Maybe it's a more
Hey,
common
look,
name.
you
than that
pronounced
part.
it right.
I know, yeah.
It's only this constant braiding of like 2 years.
So De Vere Cole, his father was William Ooting Cole, and he was a major in the British Army, but he died of cholera in India when William was just a kid. Cole was great nephew of the Anglo-Irish poet and landowner Aubrey de Vere. It seems weird to me to be a poet and like a 17th century landlord.
Maybe, but I also, in my brain now, I've been like hot on the, like most stand-up comedians who are successful, or most anyone who's successful, if you're not like me, and you want to be like, there's a reason why I'm not rich and successful and famous. It's because I don't have any rich, successful, famous relatives.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So if you do like anyone, go onto their Wikipedia, go to notable relatives, and then you'll just feel a lot better about the fact that your life's a piece of shit.
Yeah, sure. Everyone's related to everybody.
Yeah. Like literally everyone you've ever thought of. Pretty much, yeah.
So, this guy, he comes from Prestige.
County Cork.
Prestige, County Cork. His grandfather on his father's side made a load of money with quinine, which is used to treat malaria, and his mother's side was related to the De Vere Earls of Oxford. So some fancy kind of bitches.
You have a bunch of money.
So at the age of 10, William caught diphtheria, and it messed up his hearing in one of his ears for the rest of his life.
Oh, I've got that jab.
No, I assume he got the disease and not the vaccine that you got to stop the disease.
I was aware of that as well.
I thought you were like, you turned deaf. Yeah, I got that one. They sold me that vaccine.
But sure, it wouldn't make a difference because much like all vaccines.
Yeah, it just makes you go deaf. But he didn't let his deafness hold him back. He was commissioned as lieutenant in the British Army during the Second Boer War to go fight in Transvaal, which is like modern-day South Africa. He quickly rose through the ranks, presumably on merit, and not because his dad had also been in the British Army, and he became an acting captain by 1900 when he was just 19 years old.
He didn't have to go on the front lines. He could just sit back and recite Shakespeare.
Yeah, he was there for morale.
Yeah, it was, how James Blunt, he's a musical kind of captain.
Sure.
This guy's an acting captain.
But yeah, I mean, that must be annoying to have like a 19-year-old rich boy who's deaf show up to the military and then like become captain within a couple of months.
Yeah, but I'd say they're so used to it.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose. Yeah, that wouldn't even matter.
Yeah, because it's at least then you have like, that's why it's in all the films.
Yeah, because it happened all the time.
It happens all the time, and then it like everyone gets together and they form like a sense of unity, banding together to hate their captain.
Yeah. Well, luckily, in July of 1900, Cole was shot by a dum-dum or expanding bullet, and he had to recuperate in a hospital until September. So, it's like you get shot by the bullet and it expands inside you for maximum damage.
Yes.
But because of his injury, he was allowed to leave the army, and he got £1,800 at the time as severance pay, but he donated it to the War, Widow and Orphan Fund. Pretty sound.
That is very sound.
So he had been educated at Eton before the war, and then when he got back to England, he went to Trinity College in Cambridge as an undergraduate. But apparently he did feck all work and spent all of his time there entertaining his classmates.
Acting?
No, he was into pranks. Acting the maggot. That's what he was up to.
Oh.
I think this is where you'll start to like him now.
He'd play pranks such as pretending he was deaf for all of his life.
That actually seems like the sort of thing he would have done. But he played pranks such as he was known to walk around London with like a cow's udder hanging out of the fly of his trousers. And then when people would start yelling at him, he'd get all annoyed and cut it off with his scissors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking like Edwardian England, where some guy with a bowler hat would come up in mutton shops as like a woman's just fainted, like, "Sir, good sir, you've got a members hanging out from your pantaloons." And then he'd be like, fine, whatever. You can't do anything these days, and just chop it off with his scissors and keep walking.
Oh,
Amazing.
Johnny Knoxville, eat your
Yes,
heart out.
this is the jackass of his generation. I really like this for some reason, even though it doesn't make any sense. But he also liked to dress up as a workman, and he'd ask passerbys to help him with measuring something. So we give them a measuring tape. You're like, oh, mate, you just give us a hand for a second, yeah? You hang on to this measuring tape. I'm around the corner, and then I'll shout back to you when I'm ready to go. And he'd walk around the corner with the measuring tape, so the other guy couldn't see him, and then do the same thing to some other passerby, so get him to hold it. And then just leave. So the two of them would be standing there holding the tape for ages.
Oh, I'm on
Yeah,
board.
yeah, okay. It gets better from this as well. That's just a little setting the scene. For that second one,
Oh,
they don't
he's
really
chasing the laugh. This isn't enough.
Oh, this is just beginning, all right? So while he's in Cambridge, he became friends with Adrian Stephen, a sportsman and actor, and then his brother Toby the Got Stephen, and their sister Virginia Stephen, as well as other members of the future Bloomsbury group. So do you ever hear of them?
The books, like the publishing?
Yeah, I meant to look up. I thought it might be to do with Bloomsbury Publishing, maybe. Or they might have been named after these guys. I'll look it up and see if it's right, and then I'll say yes.
Thanks.
I
Great.
don't know, but they're a group of artistic-minded people at the time whose works influenced literature, aesthetics, criticism, and economics, as well as modern attitudes towards feminism, pacifism, and sexuality. So there's a well-known quote attributed to Dorothy Parker about them, saying, "They lived in squares, painted in circles, and loved in triangles."
Oh.
Yeah. Now I don't know what that means other than loved in triangles.
Yeah, I know what that one means.
Yeah, I know. We all know what that one means. They also had John.
I don't, unfortunately. I've not been lucky enough. I've been more on the outside of the triangle looking in. I'm up. I actually have a court date for that now soon enough.
You live in circles, paint in circles, and love in circles. But also in the group was John Maynard Keynes, known for his Keynesian economics.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was part of their...
Yeah, if the market crashes any further, I'm going to be on the street sucking dicks. Then there's people on the street sucking dicks going, if people keep fucking sucking dicks on the street for this price, I'm going to be at the building site giving out rim jobs.
That's one understanding of Keynesian economics, yeah.
Yeah, it's Doug Stanhope's.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. So... He's he's never in the Bloomsbury group, but he's sort of affiliated with them. So, in 1905, the 8th Sultan of Zanzibar, Sayyid Ali bin Hamud al-Busaidi, also known as Ali II, was visiting London, presumably on a diplomatic mission after the Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896.
How did that go for them?
Well, I'll tell you, it's known as the world's shortest war. Do you want to take a guess how long it lasted?
Is it one of those ones where it's like, do you ever see videos of the MMA guys when a fight starts and then as soon as the bell rings, the guy taps the ground and he says, "I don't want any. I'm sorry, I didn't."
Yep.
Yeah.
Now I don't have an exact time frame, but I've got a range.
Yeah, it's like when they both get onto the battlefield for the very first battle, and you're like, "Oh, that's how many you." Do you know what? I'm washing my hair today.
Everyone's collective mother called them. What's that? Sorry. Yeah. No, I've got a tip on back. It's lasted somewhere between 38 and 45 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty. So there's a pro-British Sultan in place at the time. He died, and then the locals picked another man that the Brits didn't like so much. So in the name of democracy and freedom, they rallied 3 cruisers, 2 gunboats, 150 marines, 150 sailors, and then 900 conscripted Zanzibarians. And they started firing on the palace, killed about 500 Zanzibarians, and then they surrendered after about 45 minutes.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And Zanzibar is in modern day Tanzania, Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so presumably they were on a diplomatic mission of friendship over to England now. And on the 2nd of March 1905, while Cole was in his second year in Cambridge and Ali II was in London, the mayor of Cambridge, Algernon S. Champin, great name, received a telegram saying, "The Sultan of Zanzibar will arrive today at Cambridge at 4:27 for a short visit. Could you arrange to show him buildings of interest and send carriage? Henry Lucas, Hotel Cecil, London." So the guests were met at the station by a carriage and then taken around the Guildhall to meet the mayor, where he was introduced to Prince Mukasa Ali, who was the uncle to the Sultan of Zanzibar.
Mm-hmm.
So the mayor and his team showed the group around town, through the famous Cambridge College campus, and then back to their train to London.
Is Algernon coming back?
Well, he'll be in it for a minute anyway.
Okay.
But so
you
he brings
already know
them
where my brain has got.
to the flowers.
Yeah, is he thick as shit?
Well, we'll see in a second. So he sends them off back on the train back to London, and he later tells the Daily Mail newspaper it was a pleasant but all too brief trip. But the following day, the Daily Mail got another side of the story from one Horace de Vere Cole, who said it wasn't Prince Mukasa Ali the mayor had met at all. It was him. So it turns out Cole and his friend Adrian Stephen came up with one of his classic pranks to pose as the Sultan's uncle on a state visit to their own college. So now, Jason, I hear you ask, how could a white man from Cork pose as someone from East Africa in 1905?
Oh, shoe polish?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Good old racism. And you'll be glad to know there's photos of this.
And again, I'm not laughing at the very obvious use of blackface.
I mean, for the RT listeners out there, we're laughing at this because it's funny that it happened, not that it's good that it happened. But
he covered himself in a thin layer of clonakilty pudding.
So yeah, luckily there are photos from the time. I'll just show you this now.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It'll be the cover photo for this episode. So take a look at your podcast player now. That's what they're working with in 1905.
So I don't know which of the two white men. Well, I suppose everyone there.
Well, they're all
So the two men who aren't doing blackface, they're the English fellows.
Yeah.
So which one's the shorter one who's in the middle there? He's kind of looking around like, I'm not gonna say it, just in case.
Just in case no one wants to call it out. But I mean, you can admit amazing work.
Just some of the finest. Well, the Irish professional wrestler Finn Balor. He does a thing when he goes to like most cities. It takes him like 3 or 4 hours to put on his makeup because he's like a demon.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm getting ready for our WrestleMania podcast. It's coming up in a few weeks
at the end of the month.
So he has to like go and find new like body paint artists everywhere he goes that can do that work. Do you think he's the same with doing this?
Well,
he's like, I need someone in every town for one of my pranks. I need a prop guy. I need a painter.
Well, this isn't the only time he does this, and eventually he gets like a professional.
Oh, I'm sure not. Much like Trudeau. Once you've gone black, you can never go back.
We'll get into more of the details of who did it for him and then later on. But for this one, they got robes and turbans from the costume department, put on some blackface, and then took the train from London. Now, none of these guys could speak Swahili, but they just communicated in a series of gibberish nonsense and sign language.
Not even speaking Irish. That would have been...
No. Yeah, they were just making sounds. And then one of their mates like play a translator for them. Mm-hmm. So he was just there like, yes, very good, ambassador, or Prince Ali, and then just saying things. So they were taking around a tour of their own college campus. So they were going past like their classmates without being recognized.
Of course.
There was a story that apparently they were almost stung by a former missionary who'd been over to Zanzibar and asked to chat to the prince in his own language. But the translator, quick and sweet, said that he wasn't able to speak to any woman who was not in his haram. So if he wanted to have a conversation...
That's
pretty good.
Fair play to them.
Yeah, no, I don't think that happened, but it's a good story.
I was going to say, like, that would have been... To have known the name.
Yes, exactly. Because he would have had exposure.
Well, did you learn the language? To be honest, I went to Start and was doing some deep dive into their background of their religion, and I was like, I got a bit sidetracked here. You're saying I can have how many now?
Yeah, he's like, this is my character now.
You said it was a missionary.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. What was she doing in the college?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that it feels like one of those things that's thrown in to like spice up an already spicy enough story. But so after about an hour, they'd asked to go back to the train station. They waved goodbye to everyone, and then they ran out the side of the station and got a cab to a friend's house so that they could change and get back to college to make it home in time for the 10 p.m. curfew. So the next day, so Cole's given an interview in the Daily Mail telling them all about the hoax. He sends in the photo, that's where that came from, and it was in all the papers by the 4th of March, with the St. James Gazette considering the events a most audacious practical joke. So the mayor wanted the people involved punished, but the vice chancellor of the college managed to convince him not to. He said it would only make him look worse. He's already been made look a mug once.
Yeah.
You can't, like, they do him in the red tops.
Also, you don't want to be getting on the wrong side of these lads. They're very good at what they do.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You take them to court and then you're halfway through the sentencing when he pulls off his wig to reveal he's been the judge all along. Skip forward a year. The HMS Dreadnought was the first dreadnought ever built. In the early 1900s, Britannia ruled the waves. The Royal Navy was seen as the best in the world, and this new dreadnought class was seen as the best of the Navy. The HMS Dreadnought was the fastest, strongest, best armed ship in the world. It was the Black Pearl, basically.
Okay. Unsinkable.
And it seems like I don't know what an equivalent would be for us.
The Titanic.
No, well, it was like a status symbol of like British might, and like British companies would use it as an ad thing.
The Joe Dolan statue in Mullingar.
Well, kind of military. We don't really have a military. It'd be like what, I don't know, what was a really fancy American weapon?
We do have a military. It's just the fact that as soon as the war, like this skirmish between Ukraine and Russia came up, and then everyone was like, "What if we just don't send lads to the lab? What if we send them into you're what? Send them into an actual war?
What if we give them all the anti-tank missiles that we have that we're never ever going to use?" Like, well, I just don't trust the Brits. You know, I need them there in case. Who's going to arm the Fermanagh border if we send those to where there's an actual fight that they could be used in? Well, I don't know. It is like cultural significance. Brands at the time are like using it as a sign of strength. You know, you can trust us. We're as strong as dreadnoughts. And the name itself, like a dreadnought, is now, that became a classic ship based on this name.
Yeah, and guitar. That's what I keep thinking.
Yeah, it was a cool, big, fancy ship. Probably the most sophisticated military piece in the world at the time. This is when like Germany and England were having a sort of arms race to build stronger ships. This was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
By 1910, then a few years later, there was a classic British old boys rivalry going on between the HMS Dreadnought and another ship, the HMS Hawk, which was like a previously big ass ship that the Dreadnought was now better than. And one of the
better
officers,
name,
Hawk.
Mm.
Yeah. But one of the officers on board the Hawk was friends with Cole and enlisted his help in getting one over on the Dreadnought crew. So on the 7th of February 1910, the princes of the Royal Abyssinian family came to visit the ship.
Whoa, modern day Ethiopia.
There you go. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you haven't mentioned that in a while.
Yeah, I have like 5 facts I like to drop on the podcast.
Yeah. But Jason, it wasn't the Abyssinian royal family at all. It was Cole.
I thought you were going to say it's Mussolini in some form of like a wet Trojan horse.
So it was Cole, Virginia Stephen, her brother Adrian Stephen, Guy Ridley, Anthony Buxton, and the artist Duncan Grant. So they were all disguised again in turbans and blackface, and they had the blackface done this time and possibly the last time by famous theatrical costumer Willie Clarkson. So he was a big deal on the London theatre scene, apparently.
Okay.
So all of them were dressed up, apart from Cole. He was disguised as the Foreign Office Secretary Herbert Scholmondele. Fancy name.
That's enough to get, yeah.
That's enough, yeah. So he's doing the sort of Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop. Just, if you walk into somewhere with confidence, no one will question you.
So just go in there blagging.
Blagging, yeah. So to set it up then, a friend of the Stevenses sent a telegram to the C&C Home Fleet, the commander-in-chief of the vessels defending Britain, stating that Prince Macallan of Abyssinia and suite arrive 4:20 today, Weymouth. He wishes to see Dreadnought. Kindly arrange meet them on arrival. So Cole and the rest of them arrived at Paddington Station. This is where he starts Eddie Murphying it. He just demands a VIP coach to Weymouth for the Royals. You saw the photo as well. It's a similar getup. In fact, that photo might actually be from this time.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, so there's just 4 guys in blackface standing at the station, and he's like, "Do you know who they are? That's the Royal Abyssinian family. I need a VIP coach here. Not 10 minutes from now. Stat, okay?"
But by now, so the news is already like worldwide, or at least throughout England, of the last time they've pulled this exact same prank.
Yeah, but that was like 5 years ago,
Okay.
and people forget. Things have happened.
Is this what's created their long-running distrust of foreigners?
No, I think it played into the fact that no one really knew what black people look like.
Well,
Which isn't because...
what year is it?
Yeah, it's 1910. 10.
Yeah, no,
No,
that's ridiculous.
The British Navy had sailed all over the world at this point.
There was black people in England at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
People of all creeds and codes.
but apparently not Zanzibarian or Abyssinian. But even like Zanzibar at the time was a British protectorate. I can't remember what they call it, but they would have had trading deals with them. I don't know. They're just not very smart, I guess, at the time.
Yeah.
Or it could be now. I mean, like,
Or it's
I
at
feel
these-
I'd be almost be fooled by it now because there's no way in hell if the Abyssinian royal family showed up here and someone asked me to show them around, I would never be like, let me just touch your face there for a second. Just hang on a moment. Now.
Is that what why you think people are always trying to touch black people's hair?
You get to pull off a wig.
Yeah, it's like in some like a shoddy Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, this whole thing is a shoddy Scooby-Doo episode.
No, I'm not racist. I know it feels different. Does it feel different to a wig is what I'm trying to...
I've just been pranked too many times. I just, I don't trust you people. Not you people. I just mean pranksters. This is I'm in over my head here.
Quickly, just give this man whatever he wants.
Yeah.
A limo? Give this man a limo.
I'd rather be pranked into 100 fake tourists than be called a racist once. You know what I mean? But so, yeah, he arrives at Paddington Station. He gets the VIP coach, and they arrive into Weymouth to a Royal Navy welcome. Although, apparently, they mistakenly flew the Zanzibar flag and played the Zanzibar national anthem as opposed to Abyssinia. But even the lads didn't notice because they didn't know where they were supposed to be from.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Irish rugby anthem. No one really knows what's going on. We just kind of...
Yeah. Is this it? I thought it was some... okay, I guess this is it. No, what I was trying to... Because I knew there was a reference... Do you remember in like the London 2012 Olympics, they mixed up the North and South Korean flags?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was something to do with that, and I Googled something like sports event flag mix-up. And apparently it happens all the time. Like loads of articles came back from all different... Like every World Cup, every Olympics. It was only going back 10 years. It happens all the time. People just mix up like the Andorra and the Albanian national anthem. I guess if you have to play like 60 national anthems and whoever's in charge of it hasn't heard of a lot of these countries or doesn't know the national anthem for them, it happens.
But it is your only
It is
job.
the only... It's shocking how often it happened.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to, like, at the time I was like, it was idiots. How can a man stationed in Britain who's never left this port mix up Zanzibar and Abyssinia? What a moron. It seems like it's still happening today, so I don't know.
Yeah. And I think Simon Cooper, I read one of his books before about having to do that basically. Not just for players' names in the middle of matches at a World Cup because he'd spent a lot of time in Africa. And he was, maybe it was a Senegal match, I'm not sure. But basically it was like an American producer on the TV show that was kind of like, yeah, and who's this guy? We need him for the commentary. And you're like, I think it's, I'm not really sure. And he gives him a name and it's wrong. And the guy's like, you gotta do better. You can't leave me out there like that, man. You're like, if I wasn't here,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I'm literally I got one mistake in a 90-minute match.
Yeah,
if I wasn't here, you would all just be going off of like, what color are their boots?
Yeah. Number 19 to number 16. 16 to 17. Back to 5. But, yeah, I was reading about the North Korean, South Korean flag thing and then thinking about, that's pretty, of all the countries to mix up, that's a pretty bad one, I suppose. But luckily, North Korea went on to win every gold medal in the London 2012 Olympics, so it was grand.
Yeah.
My housemate was showing me the other day, I think it's a Twitter account called like Kim Jong-un's Wordle game. Have you been playing Wordle?
I know what it is.
It's
but
just
no,
like
I haven't.
it's just 5 greens every time. Like, oh, tough one today. Just got it in one.
And to say again, we don't find that funny.
It's not funny that Kim Jong-un is at a level of propaganda where he must win every World Cup and be the best at Wordle. But it is kind of funny that he's that thick. I don't know. It's not funny that a man's dressed up in blackface and pretended to be from Abyssinia in order to get on a ship, but it kind of is.
It's somehow I don't know.
I don't know why.
I can't explain it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I'm laughing at
It's
that. I'm not laughing at anything else.
No,
I'm
it's
laughing
funny.
exactly at the blackface.
Yeah, because it's so ridiculous.
Also because of the like, I imagine with advancements in makeup and such, in like the century since then,
Yeah.
that it's probably gotten a lot better. As in, like, I don't think that you would have gotten away with Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder using the makeup that
No, that
Veer's
they were
using.
doing. No.
Yeah.
That's true. But
So they're getting further away with it with worse. Like, they're going to look far, yeah.
yeah. Again, I guess, you see what you expect to see. People just take it at face value. You get an official looking telegram.
Blackface value.
Black. There you go. Okay. Cole showed up. They didn't know, just like Swahili before that, they didn't know how to speak Amharic. So they're just back to using the mix of gibberish and sign language. Cole disguised as Shoal Mondale, had fake names for all of the princes, but he kept forgetting who was who. So he was naming them different things. But luckily, no one noticed because of racism. So,
You know, all these Irish guys in shoe polish, they all look the same to me.
They're all. So Cole did some quick thinking when it started raining. He got the group inside, and then he had them deny eating any food to save their face paint. But he said it's because they couldn't eat British food for religious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Which I only imagine he was stuffing his face full of like all the fancy delicacies, and they were all standing there starving. He was like, they can't touch it. It's not halal. But
It's not halal, but it is hilarious.
So they were shown on board the Dreadnought by Captain Herbert Richmond and Commander William Wordsworth Fisher. So Fisher was the Stevens' cousin. The people that were on the group, this was their
For a
cousin.
second, I thought you were going to say it was Wordsworth.
It wasn't Wordsworth.
Oh, okay.
Alas. But he didn't recognize his own cousins. One of whom was a woman, but dressed up as a male prince.
Mm-hmm.
Like Virginia was in beard face as well as blackface. And he still didn't recognize them.
How close of cousins, though?
Like first cousins, I think.
But it sounded like you were alluding to, and he slept with this woman and he still doesn't know.
She was like, what a prank. Wait till he finds out that I'm not actually an African man at all, but his cousin. So that all goes well. They go around the whole ship to get the full tour. And again, this is like
The ship and caboodle.
the ship and caboodle. Very good. I can't think of it. Like this is like being shown around Black Hawk before Black Hawk downed. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this is being shown around as a delegate, the fanciest, most state-of-the-art military equipment that the country has. And then afterwards going to the Daily Mail and telling them you'd done pranked them like a bunch of silly bitches.
Basically, yeah, it's kind of like if you Roswell back in the 40s.
Yeah.
Like if you were being brought in to see like Area 51 and then turning around the next day and go to TMZ and you're like, you'll never fucking guess what they've got.
Yeah, pretty, actually, yeah, true. I watched a very interesting video about what Roswell was the other day, actually.
Oh yeah. Let me tell you why you're wrong. Go on.
It was someone had designed a piece of equipment for World War II times. There's a level in the ocean at which the pressure of the water above it and the pressure of the water below it was perfectly balanced, so that sound waves, instead of going up or down, would travel lengthways. So they go around at this level.
Okay.
And the guy designed this really interesting device for ships that went down. You would drop this device and it would just sink down. And the thing, I think, was around like 1,100 meters below. So the device would just go down and was automatically designed to explode at that point. So it would set off this tone that would go around the world at that level and it would spread out. And then they had listening posts along the American coast. So then when the sound wave would hit them, because it would travel like for thousands and thousands of miles at this level, and when it would hit them, you'd be able to triangulate that where the device went down. So this is before GPS or whatever. He just came up with this device.
And
that
this is
could
just
show you.
but this is like to geolocate basically where
Yeah.
attacking submarines or ships are going to come.
No, just where a pilot went down.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because you're talking about before GPS. There's no way if you go down into the ocean, no one's ever going to find you.
Yeah.
But they drop this thing down, it blows up automatically. Since the sound was up, they can triangulate it because of the time at which it would hit each of the listening posts or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then he theorized that there's probably a similar thing in the sky, a similar layer where you could send a wave going lengthways across the sky. And they started designing something. And what was in Roswell was a listening post, the equivalent of the coastal listening posts, but in the air.
Ah.
But because it was like state of the art, it's just really cool technology. But then that went down in Roswell. And obviously they were like, well, fuck, we don't want the Russians to know that this is what we're using. So they hid it away. And then everyone was like, it's a fucking spaceship.
Yes, but then also that, I mean, explain the aliens then.
It was the Iron Giant from the book.
Yeah, it's that like I think there's a lot of things that could be like theorized as to what Roswell was, but basically, no, we're never going to find out.
Yeah.
We won't know, and even if we do find out, like with last year when the U.S. military were like, oh yeah, here's 3 UFOs that definitely existed. We're not sure what they are, but they're fucking mad, and we never told you about them for years. Something weird happened at Roswell. They're not telling us. It I'm not saying it's aliens. And that's as soon as you mention Roswell, people are like, he's a fucking conspiracy theorist. Well, some conspiracy theories are true, firstly. And then secondly, you're like, I'm not saying it's aliens. I'm saying that it's a government operation that are like knowingly withholding very important information from the public.
But I'm saying to you that that's what the information
But
was.
no, it's definitely not that, because there's enough fucking accounts at this stage of people who can corroborate the story at the exact same time, saying that there were sheets of metal, like the ship itself, as well as two little men. Right, I'm not saying that those men weren't like monkeys being put in there to be like, oh, go
operating the levers,
tests, just to see what it would be like to have a human, like, you know, something similar to a human inside of it.
Sure, yeah.
But there were definitely two beings.
I
was there. I was stoned. I wanted to believe. You've seen the photos of me at the museum. I'm so happy.
I'm so into it.
I'm so into it.
They played me the movie Aliens, and I was like, yes, I knew it. Well, I butchered the idea. I think it was Internet Historian had a video about it. But even if it's not the explanation for Roswell, it is a very cool piece of technology that they developed during the wartime, which was immediately made redundant by like GPS and other things.
Know what happened at Roswell. Just find out the truth yourself. Kevin also thinks that the ATF didn't shoot first.
How did we get onto that? Well, anyway, after they'd done this epic prank, after they dunked on these old folk, Cole did the same thing and sent the pictures into the Daily Mirror and told them what they'd done. So the fact that the Bloomsbury group were also like pacifists, this was seen like as another kick in the teeth to the Royal Navy, which then became the object of ridicule after the stunt. So the higher-ups in the Navy wanted to have them arrested, but since they hadn't broken any actual laws, they were just subjected to a symbolic trashing on the buttocks by junior officers.
Oh, slap across the backside.
Well, just like the Australian boot.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Now, I'd heard another story that like the officers just showed up to his house and whipped him a few times.
That
I also find it hard to believe that
far
they hadn't
less ceremonial.
Yeah, well, I think they were just like they were embarrassed. But it's hard to believe that he hadn't broken any laws by impersonating a foreign dignitary to get onto a secret military ship.
But you know that classic maritime law of us turning up to your house and kicking your teeth in for making us look stupid? No, this has been going back for years.
But the stunt was widely reported. The Navy's getting mocked over it. One of its biggest claims to fame is that this is where the phrase bunga bunga came from. So it was reported that every time the group of Abyssinian dignitaries saw one of the technological marvels on the ship, they'd all murmur bunga bunga.
That's so fucking racist.
It's so racist.
But god damn it.
With five guys in obvious blackface just murmuring nonsense and then just going, oh, bunga bunga. And everyone just being like, yes, and this way to the secret military base, and this gun can shoot over 400 meters in a straight line as long as the sun's out. Oh, bunga bunga.
But like at that stage, then you would think that they would have been like, all right, these lads are impressed with everything. They're idiots. So let's not show them the secrets. Let's not, like, just on the off chance, let's not open up those doors. Let's just, here's a fork and knife. Ah, bunga bunga.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, this is enough. We don't need to bring them into, like, the
they
main
show them,
secrets of the military.
Yeah, the secret boat that could inflate into a dinghy, which was capable of staying afloat in the sea for up to 4 hours, with enough rations for a man to survive for 25 minutes. But, the phrase, so the phrase seems to have come. There's an interview at the time with someone who was on the ship, but maybe was just looking for clout and wouldn't have known what had actually gone on. Or maybe this was the thing that they were saying when they were walking around. But either way, the phrase became like a meme of its time. So like officers from the ships, or officers in general, couldn't go anywhere without people shouting bunga bunga at them whenever they were walking around. The real king of Abyssinia visited England like a month later. And kids were just shouting bunga bunga at him when he was walking around. He was also I don't know if this was true, but I had read that he was also denied a visit to the ship. I don't know why he would ask, but apparently they were like, we can't.
Not again.
Fool me once. So there's a music hall song from 1910 with a chorus that went, when I went on board a dreadnought ship, I looked like a costermonger. They said I was an Abyssinian prince because I shouted bunga bunga.
Very good. No, but not very good, but good rendition.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and in 1915, again, who knows how true this is, but during World War I, the HMS Dreadnought was the first and only ship that was able to it rammed a German submarine and sunk it. And accolades started coming in across the telegram. Good show, old boy. Well done. And apparently one of the first to come in just said, bunga bunga.
Trolls. I love it.
Yes. It's because you could completely imagine this now. So just the officers getting off the ship and everyone just being like, well, bunga bunga. Because they were made fools of for letting these lads on. Because everyone saw the photo as well. The photo was in the newspaper and they're like, geez, I wouldn't fall for that. But they would have. And then so do you know... Did you come across that phrase bunga bunga before?
I've heard it before, but it's usually in very racist connotations.
Well, you probably heard it in the context of Berlusconi. It came up again in 2010, 2011 for the former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi.
And man after my own heart.
I
don't agree with a lot of people believe.
Listen, I'm not saying it was 100% right 100% of the time.
Yeah, but I would like at some point in my life to be a telecommunications billionaire who owns a football club and becomes president of the country.
Yeah,
that's...
Well, now, before you fully say... Because I was listening to Whitney Cummings' as a podcast called Bunga Bunga, which goes into, the Bunga Bunga parties became synonymous with, his sex orgies that he was having, which also involved a lot of underage women.
It did, in boots.
Yeah.
And trunks for
and
our
other
American.
Pharmacy.
For American listeners, the back, the trunk of a car.
Yeah.
Underage prostitutes a lot of the time who've been flown in / shipped in or.
A lot of women's sex trafficked in and then brought to an old man's weird sex parties on an island.
Because he was found at one point with one of them in his trunk.
Yeah.
In the boot of his car, and they're just like, look. I don't know how much money you need to get away with that.
Yeah.
But I will say he had enough.
He did.
I don't know
enough,
if there's a certain number.
Yeah. But so that's Bunga Bunga sort of entered back into the cultural lexicon with Berlusconi and his underage teenage girl sex parties. Speaking of underage teenage girls, in 1918, Cole was taken by an 18-year-old Irish heiress, Denise Lynch, when he was 37. So again, in the sources I read for this, it would always be and then he fell in love with an 18-year-old girl. It
happens sometimes.
It happens a lot back then. It seems.
You've been playing music together with someone. You might make a film set about a broken.
It happens
Hoover.
Once in a while.
Yeah.
But so Denise Lynch.
But technically, she's now. You say he got taken.
Yes.
As in they got married. Or as in you're about to tell me a story?
No, he was infatuated with her.
Oh, okay.
So she couldn't get married, not because of her age, but because she was a ward of the Irish Chancery. I didn't really look into this, but basically she stood to inherit a giant fortune. So she wasn't allowed to get married before she was 21.
Gotcha.
What's the word for that?
Common sense.
Yeah, that felt like a joke setup, but your money's an escrow maybe. Basically, you can't get at your inheritance until you're of a certain age.
Allen Iverson stuff.
Yeah, so that you don't blow it all or marry some 37-year-old man who's famous for being a fucking lunatic. But luckily, she manages to get out of that arrangement and she marries him. She somehow gets out of that. I mean, she might have to forfeit the money when she gets out of it. She gets out of the wardship anyway and marries Cole on the 30th of September 1918 in Dublin City. So on April Fool's Day in 1919, a couple of months later, while on their honeymoon, Cole spent a day dropping horse shit onto Venice's Piazza San Marco in Italy, a city with no horses that could only be reached by boat, in one of his classic pranks. But this is also a bit of a step down from what he's been doing.
This isn't even as good as the tape measure.
No, it's not. This is him sneaking off from his honeymoon to pick up horse shit, ferry it by boat to an island, and then drop it in a plaza in Italy only months after World War I has ended. They've suffered enough. And then they'll be looking around and be like, how did this happen? Maybe it's a man who smells of horse shit that's standing over there with a big grin on his face. In blackface for some reason. But, this is a little bit of a step down from our boy, I think.
Yeah. How old is he now? He's
37.
He's past it.
Well, do you think that? You want to see return to form?
All
right.
Come back.
So he's come back when he's in London.
Here's his problem. He's had too many yes men around him. It's been years people have been saying, that's a great joke. That's a great joke. You keep at it. He needed to fall flat on his face in a very public manner to realise, no, I've got to get back to my roots.
You can't just rely on some of the old classics. You can't just like show up in blackface and do the bunga bunga and then everyone.
I'm not saying not. No, I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying you can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm saying
character's
that,
a character.
Yeah.
But well, so he's back in London. So apparently,
Imagine if Steve Coogan decided, I'm never going to do Alan Partridge in blackface ever again.
the world would be at a loss. So on one occasion at least, Cole got a group of friends dressed up as workmen to start digging trenches across Piccadilly. But because they were like dressed up as workmen and just had the equivalent of high vis at the time, the police just assumed they were supposed to be there and started like redirecting traffic around.
As I have friends who used to, they don't do it anymore. No, I shouldn't give them names. I shouldn't give their names just in case. They, friends who for years, I think for like 4 or 5 years straight, never paid into Electric Picnic. They would just wear a high vis down, and then bring one of those litter pickers, like the claws, and then have a giant black sack with them. And then, but inside the black sack wasn't a load of litter; it was their sleeping bag and cans.
My God!
And then I think the first year or two they did that, and then it somehow found the access to like the actual high vis vests that the cleaning companies were using. So like they weren't in danger anyway. But from that point on, they're just another level of confidence.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Yeah.
It's.
I'm not saying that people should try this.
Oh no, because I'd always heard it done with like once you're even inside the festival to get backstage. I know a friend of mine. If you just walk up backstage with like again high vis jacket, if you've got an earpiece, even better, and then like a handful of sandwiches and bottles of water, like an armful of that, and just walk up and be like, "Mate, do you mind?" And then they just buzz you in, and you walk in with the supplies for backstage. Fuck them all in the bin. You're partying with the rest of them there. Yeah,
no, that's fair. I'm sure something similar happened to us there to me when we were in Sinead gigging the other week.
I was thinking I was down in Kilkenny last week, and I was thinking about me and you walking around with our dirty football jerseys, being like, yeah, on the lineup, let me backstage there, please.
Myself and Kev went down to get the Kilkenny Cat Laughs.
Oh, we've told this story on the podcast
have we?
before.
Yeah,
we have. Yeah.
For new listeners.
Sure.
We went down to just watch comedy and meet people and stuff a couple of years ago when we were starting out in stand-up. We went down to the festival, and then because they needed extra people to play the soccer game on the Sunday, that we just did that and then kept the jerseys, and then everywhere we went for the rest of the day walked in for free going, no, we're comedians. They're like, prove it. Well, would someone who's not a comedian have a dirty soccer jersey? And people went, I'm not even answering this question. Go inside. It's not full. It's fine.
Or even there, but last week when we walked into that other gig nearby, and someone was like, sorry, if you got tickets. We're comedians. And they're immediately like, oh, jeez, sorry. Don't ask for credentials.
One person even said, oh, I'm sorry, I should have known.
Yeah,
we're not on this lineup. Yeah, you definitely shouldn't know.
But
but that happened to me in Sinead the other day, because I was kind of like, the bouncer wouldn't, whatever it was, he was like, no, we're busy. We've got there was a stand-up gig downstairs. That's what it was. And I was trying to go down, but I'd like to go through the front bar, and the bouncer was like, no, man, sorry, you can't come in. We're too busy or packed or whatever. I was like, no, I'm going downstairs. He's like, yeah, there's comedy downstairs. You don't have to pay in for that. I'm like, listen, son. But as soon as I got that confident of going, no, you don't understand, man, what it is, and he was like, just fucking go. I was like, that's the big time. I don't want to put up with you anymore, so just go through. I'm walking head held high.
Yeah.
Big success.
What's this? I think once you see it happen every night of the week when you're in a queue, it doesn't matter. We've talked about this before. It doesn't matter what you say to a bouncer. It's how you say it. When they say something like, oh, it's busy tonight, if you launch off and you're like, I'm fucking here all the time, and me and my 5 friends, and there's only like one person behind you, and you're just drunk and belligerent, they're done. Whereas if you're like, no, I'm just going downstairs. I'm sober. I'm just going down to like see the thing.
Yeah, well, granted, I wasn't.
I know,
but that's it was because I was going to say, don't call me out now on the. I've been here I was here yesterday doing comedy history. Shite talk. That's what it is. And then
this is just shite. And you're pointing at the mirror inside the door, be like, that's me. That's my face up in the poster. But all right, well, that was prank number 1. He's out digging trenches in Piccadilly. Prank number 2. So because he was an Eton boy, you know, they're all mates. Boris Johnson, David Cameron, all them boys, old Eton boys. So one of his friends from the old...
His big prank, I'm going to make the future leaders of this country fuck a pig's head.
Bullington Clubbit. But one of his old friends from Eton had become the newly elected Conservative Member of Parliament, a man called Oliver Locker Lampson. So Cole challenged him to a race on a London street to the nearest street corner. And just because he's a good sport, Cole said, I'll give you a 10-yard head start. So Cole shouts, go. Locker Lampson takes off running at full tilt. Cole gives him his 10 yards head start before chasing after him, but he waited until they were passing by some cops to shout out, stop! Thief! He's got my watch! The cops jump on Locker Lampson, and sure enough, when they check his pockets, they find the gold watch Cole had slipped in there earlier on.
Okay, I'm back on board.
You're back on
I'm
board?
Back on board.
Now, this bit gets a bit confusing because the cop, like, it says that he waited until he was done having his fun. I can imagine Locker Lampson was like, Cole, tell him, don't hand me, officer, tell him it was a joke. And he's standing there being like, I've never seen this man in my life. But eventually, at some point, he's like, it's all just a joke. At which point, the officers, now this was written nicely, but I imagine they're like, fuck off, son. But after they were let go the first time, Cole starts flailing his stick around as though he was conducting an imaginary orchestra. And at which point the cops arrest both of them again. So no charge is brought against Locker Lampson, but Cole is found guilty of a breach of peace and fined £5.
Okay, worth it.
Well, the first prank is funny. I don't know what he was doing the second part. He was just pretending to be a bandmaster.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, but think about that. Like,
Think about it.
think about it. Oh, that's inside. That's an inside shy talk joke.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I can see that of like waving your wand around as they're over. Like the police are talking to him, going through everything. He's like, I am the orchestrator of all of this. And they're like, he's taking the piss.
He is taking the-
already
yeah.
like he should just be apologetic at this stage.
Yeah, you should just walk away.
Yeah.
So, all right, you're starting to warm up to him again. Prank number 3. He allegedly hosted a party at which all the guests showed up, distinguished guests from all around his social circles. They start meeting and greeting, mingling, and eventually, as the night goes on, they all start to realize that their second name had the word bottom in it.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not getting much from you. That's fun. Like they're walking around, they're like, yes, my name's Neville Longbottom, and you're Francie Percybottom. That's interesting. I suppose you get a lot of jokes about it. Yes, it's a tired old thing. And what's your name? Simon Perrybottom. What are the odds? That is uncanny. 3 bottoms in a room. This is fantastic. And then eventually they find out that they've all got bottom in their name, and it was just a prank.
Frank, yeah, okay. Well, I do
That's
like
pretty
that.
good.
That's
Yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah. It reminds me of
There
the
is no
time-
payoff apart from the fact
He's just in the corner laughing in
Yeah.
blackface again. They're all looking for like, where is Horace Cole? I need to give that man a stern talking to. He's like, I don't know. I'm the Prime Minister of Abyssinia.
who somehow still had bottom at the end of their name.
Yes, it's me, Prince Ali Gorunda Bottom. But I think that's. I can tell that didn't really tickle your fancy as much as the other ones. I thought it was a pretty fun one.
It was good. It is just bottom.
That's the height of British comedy.
Yeah, but I'm like, I want what's the main punchline?
But just
of that?
the main punchline is sitting there
If there was
trying not to piss yourself laughing as you slowly look out at everyone's face, being like, oh, I see. It'd be like if you invited a load of people like Patrick Fitzpatrick and Simon McSimon into a room, and they all slowly realize that that's why they were there, and then they're like, I get it. It's that thing everyone makes fun of me for.
Yeah, but
It's cruel,
I still want to see.
and I
like,
don't
a giant,
support it RTE,
Yeah.
but it's funny.
I think no, I don't know, like some giant like paper mache arse. If that came down, if they all looked up and realized at the same time the chandelier over the ballroom was just a big arse.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's good. That's a nice finishing touch to it. But
Yeah.
this is 100 years ago. Comedy wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. Rick and Morty hadn't been invented yet.
Hadn't been invented, hadn't already fallen off from being good. It's a wild time.
A wild time. Okay, well now you might like this one. Another prank of his. He apparently, so a lot of his pranks are sort of aimed at. I know this hasn't come across on any of the ones we've talked about. Well, maybe the ship thing. It's sort of thumbing its nose at the establishment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, taking a bit of starch out of the stuffed shirts of Cambridge or the HMS Dreadnought. So this is a similar one for theatrical performances, in particularly pretentious theatres. He used to buy specific seats in the ground floor and then give those tickets to bald men I heard that it was just men he'd met in the streets. He'd give the tickets to, but he'd get his bald friends to go in, and then they would be sitting in specific seats, so that from the upstairs gallery you could look down, and the men's heads would spell out things. Now, allegedly,
Give me the
they-
words.
they
how,
either
how many seats?
well, if you do it strategically, so apparently they spelt out bollocks, but other accounts said they spelt out fuck. But it's a psychological aspect of it. If you're up there in the gallery with your little eyeglasses, and then you take your eyes off the stage a moment and look down and think, what? Surely not. Have I taken too much shandy, or are those men's heads calling me a bollocks?
But then
That is great.
that is great. But then how many of them like male pattern baldness?
No, I'd say it's full
it-
on. You need a shiny head for this to work. I'd say.
Yeah, but I'd say a lot of people probably had shiny heads anyway because they were just bald.
Yeah, and then I think it was more.
They haven't figured out you could fix that for €2,000 on a weekend in Turkey. Like,
But I think maybe men wore hats back then. So I
not
think
inside. That's unbecoming.
Yeah, that's true.
As in, is it one of those of like the stars where you're like, no, you got to look at it just from these
Yeah,
angles.
yeah.
Then
It's more- 'cause if
then
there's more-
then it spells out a penis. But
If yeah, it's if there's other bald men in it, it's almost better because then you're like,
it's like a Horshack test. It's like, what do you see? I see. It says bollocks. What does your one say?
yeah,
My one says my father never loved me. Actually, there's nothing in the crowd today.
I'm trying to watch the play. Will you stop? Oh my god, it does say bollocks.
That's too big though. That's too long of a word. They
Yeah,
definitely
it was.
wouldn't have-
I think it was probably fuck, but people didn't want to print that at the time because it's less charming. Whereas nowadays, it's funny again.
Yeah, because that's rambunctious.
It is rambunctious, but that's too long of a word for sure to put in there.
Yeah.
We're getting to the end of his life now, but in 1928, Cole's marriage to his child bride failed, and he went into exile in France after he lost all of his money on Canadian land speculation.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, he left his
Not
wife.
so much the land speculation as the exile.
He put himself in self-exile, and he left his wife and his child, his daughter Valerie, behind. I don't really know what. I don't know what he lost his money on. He might have bought a lot of land in Saskatoon.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already got Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal. Surely they'll need a fourth city out west. But he was wrong.
Yeah.
It was Vancouver the whole way over, but that's it.
It's the same as kind of like what Perth is on the other side of
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah.
And they're like, we'll set one up here. There will be a bridging city. There will be like a sister city between them. What if no?
You
What
get
if
to
you're just-
Adelaide, then you can fucking drive for 17 hours. So I don't know. Maybe he lost all of his money buying farmland out there. But so he left his wife and child behind. And in 1931, he married a former scullery maid and waitress at the Veeraswamy Indian restaurant, Mabel Winfred Mary Wright.
Hold on, but he went.
Now, there's no indication as to how exactly he approached her, what color his face was at the time. But in 1935, they had a son, the future BBC and film director, Tristan de Vere Cole. I looked through some of his work, didn't recognize any of it, but he did.
I'm gonna say that the kid came out with a darker pigment. And he's like, look, like father, like son. Oh, hold on a second.
He came out with lighter pigment, and he was like, "How dare you, you hussy!" But a year later, he died of a heart attack in Honfleur, France, 1936. But in a classic Prankmaster twist.
Of course, yeah.
This is the sort of thing you'd expect on Impractical Jokers. This is like what Sal would do. This is the fucking classic prank.
I don't watch that show.
I didn't
before.
watch it
Yeah.
either. I had to look up one of the names of the guys
It's one of those.
from the show.
Every so often, people will tell me, "It's like, no, Impractical. It's actually pretty good. It's not as bad as you think." And then I watch one sketch of it, and I'm like, it is as bad as I think.
It's the sort of thing I used to watch in college when I'd be hungover and it was just on daytime TV. I was like, this is grand.
Yeah.
But it's just like one of the boys would do, classic prank. It turns out it wasn't his son at all. His wife had cheated on him with his friend, the Welsh artist Augustus John. And he was the real father of Tristan. But Augustus John, I looked into a bit of his stuff, a famous Welsh painter. Author Virginia Woolf remarked that by 1908, the era of John Singer Sargent and Charles Wellington Furze was over, and the age of Augustus John was dawning. In another twist, remember Virginia Stephen? from the thing,
Yeah.
the blackface beard woman.
Yeah.
She got married and became Virginia Woolf. There you go.
She's cancelled now then, surely, right?
I think she's dead, so she's probably safe.
I don't know.
Uh,
Oh, she definitely could be. That's, yeah, you could.
yeah. I mean, I didn't put this in earlier in the story because I don't really know any of her work. Do you know?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's dead. And, well, no, we should finish. Yeah, you're right. We should finish off this season with a call to cancel Virginia Woolf for doing blackface in 1910.
We're not coming
prank.
back.
Yeah, this is it. We're going out on blast, and we're taking Virginia Woolf down with us.
And then she'll just come back as Tom Wolfe, and it'll be a whole thing.
Yeah.
not
And
worth
although if we only get one shot at this, if we start trying to cancel her and it doesn't catch on, we don't want to be the boys who cried wolf.
Well done. You're
That's what
better
I-
than me.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
that's-
Right. So we finish up on Cole's sister, Annie Cole, was married to a bachelor businessman.
That's just Annie Cole.
And she was a big fan of chimney sweeps around Cockney, London. Annie Cole. That's good. There you go.
Married Fred Dibnah.
But she, which also, I mean, I imagine some sort of classic British comedy stand-up when the reports are coming in of Cole being in blackface. What? This is an outrage. Was it Cole? No, it was boot polish. That's not bad. I could write for Have I Got News for You.
You could. That's that's not a compliment.
But Annie Cole, his sister, also born in Cork, she got married to a 41-year-old bachelor businessman who didn't think he'd ever get married, but she ended up getting hitched to him, convinced him, and also pushed him into a life of politics. A man called Neville Chamberlain, who went on to become the Prime Minister of Britain in 1937, just in time for World War II.
Very good.
Yeah, married to a Corkonian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so apparently at some point she asked him what he thought of her brother, and he later reported, "I was obliged to say what I did think, but fortunately it appeared that was her opinion too, and she was not at all inclined to be proud of her brother's exploits. I think he must have been a little mad."
Oh, interesting. But then Churchill was a big fan of him. Because
Yeah.
during strong wartime is what you need as a leader of the pranksters.
I needed to find a way to sneak into South Africa unseen. Cole, have you got a solution?
He could have done that, though. Like,
He
imagine-
could have, yeah.
He could have been, but he's like, well, look, it worked.
I want one grainy photo of just a black-faced fat Winston Churchill with a cigar in among the Transvaal population.
Her Cole just beside Hitler,
Yeah.
smoking a stogie.
But there you go. So his sister married to the wartime prime
He's
minister.
like, the man who could have killed Hitler. Yeah, but then hold on, the joke would have been up.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Never
yeah.
get in the way of a good bit.
Yeah, it's funnier when you leave and no one suspected you. You're like, Cole, you're meant to kill him.
Well, there you go. How do you feel about it? Horace de Vere Cole, the master prankster of Cork now?
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I want to know how much work you had to do in the research of this, or did it all just fall together because he had so many good stories?
It all fell together, and it's definitely one of those people that, like, it's kind of like Catch Me If You Can, where the source material is a book written by a confessed con artist. A lot of these stories come from Virginia Woolf and her brother Adrian Stevens, like years afterwards, where they were sort of telling them as yarns. So
But it's kind of like the same with that's a few of Scorsese stuff then, because it's like The Wolf of Wall Street, same. Catch Me If You Can. Did he do Gandhi?
I don't think so.
Because if you realize Gandhi was actually just Cole dressed up as.
But so like if a lot of these stories are based on the word of a master prankster. Who knows how much of it actually happened? But anyway, that's the end of season 7.
Yeah, it is season 7.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
The
we've
season where everything came back, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden we tried to balance doing live and guest shows with the regular podcast.
and like it's so much more stuff on the Patreon, and
Yeah.
and we failed miserably because
Oh.
we're both very tired.
Yeah, but I'm happy out. I don't think any episode was released on the same day as any other one somehow. Even though there's
No.
only 7 days in the week, we managed to do a different episode every day.
Yeah, it was. No, it was an experience. We've been busy with the live stuff, so that's
Yes.
been very good.
It's
And
been great.
yeah, you'd think that the two of us being back in the same country as each other would have helped, but if anything, it's made it tougher because then you have to go to places. We can't just open up laptops in our bedrooms and talk to each other.
Yeah.
Now there's commute times and
That's-
other stuff that exists.
The commute time's like a 20-minute walk,
Yeah,
which you would have had to do to your office anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's great. It's great to be back. Although this is one of the few ones that we've done in the same room.
Yeah, we've had COVID scares. We've had us being in opposite
Yes.
parts of the country and still needing to
Yes.
release at a timely fashion. And what else have we?
Did bad equipment as well.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
that too.
Bad planning, timing skills.
Did the season start with me being out of the country? No, I was in the country for it. was it?
Maybe we're but we
No,
got
no,
new,
I don't think so. No,
we've
no.
new mics now. We got new setup.
Yeah, we'll see how the audio quality comes out. Hopefully, it's the same.
We'll be flying for season 8. But yeah, sure. Listen, we'll talk to you in probably like 3 weeks,
Or a couple of days if you want to come down to the Cork gig.
Yes.
That's the live one,
or the Belfast gig,
mm-hmm.
or the Shanghai St Patrick's gig after that.
or the
For all
big,
ye Americans that are coming over for St Patrick's Day, and anyone else from all around the world, you're going to be in Dublin St Patrick's Day. Come see us on Sunday.
yeah, 3 days after that, we'll be doing a rollover hangover fun day session.
We'll be real quiet. It'll be a nice warm atmosphere. You can sit in the beanbag if you bring your own.
If you bring your own
Yeah.
beanbag.
Mhm.
And then the big other thing, then we'll have more gigs coming up, but we did just announce our big, giant, huge 100. We're saying it's our 100 episode. We've
Yeah.
to really strategically organize episodes to do before
Sure.
then to make it
the
true.
100 one. Yeah.
Or we could just lie.
Probably just
But
lie.
we're doing our 100 episode extravaganza, also our
Yes.
3-year birthday celebration
Yes.
of the first ever podcast going out on May 19th in Temple Bar
Yeah.
in the Wild Duck Comedy Club,
Oh yeah.
run by the great Danny O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be doing our big, massive. It's kind of the end of our tour, or at least all the gigs that we've booked so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be once we finish that. Well, I have a wedding the next day, and once I get over that wedding, I'm going to sleep for a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have nothing the next day, so I will be out all night, and then I will sleep for a month.
But yeah, definitely go see us at that. Or like the rest of our dates are going to be in the description for this episode,
Mm.
or on our Instagram, or you can email us at shytalkhistory@gmail.com, and we'll chat to you soon.
Yeah,
We'll probably have an episode of something next week anyway.
Yeah, we have a lot of like backlog stuff already to go out, so
Yeah.
it feels like sure. Look, we'll be chatting to you soon enough in live on the Patreon. But yeah, look, you've been great. Cheers,
Yeah. Good luck.
Shafter.